Greetings friends, my name is Pavel Steinmach and now we'll dive into the top news of this day. The 12th meeting of the Contact Group of Defense of Ukraine, better known as Ramstein, took place today. The defense ministers held a conversation online, but yesterday Ben Wallace, the defense minister of the United Kingdom, came to the Ukrainian capital, and on the eve of the meeting, the head of the Pentagon, Lloyd Austin, had a conversation with the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Alexei Reznikov.
As Ukraine advances its fight against Russian invaders, the members of this contact group stand united. Since this group met last month, the United States has committed an additional $1.8 billion in security assistance to Ukraine. That includes a recent package of $375 million with equipment such as HIMARS ammunition, anti-tank systems, and laser-guided rockets. We're also providing key combat enablers such as heavy equipment transport and armored bridging systems.
Speaking about the Ramstein meeting, Ukrainian Minister Alexei Reznikov announced the day before the strengthening air and anti-missile defense will remain priority number one. Another top topic must be the F-16. Pentagon spokesman Patrick Ryder previously said that it is currently unknown when and how the multi-role American F-16 fighter jets will be provided. At the same time, he added that the training of Ukrainian pilots will take place outside of Ukraine, namely in Europe. It is expected that the training of Ukrainian pilots will last about 4 months, so the delivery of fighters directly to Ukraine can be implemented probably not earlier than September of this year. And we are grateful to our allies for making the decision to train our pilots on modern fighter jets and to work together to provide them as soon as possible. At the same time, NATO General Secretary Jens Stoltenberg said that the timing of the delivery of the F-16 to Kyiv will depend on the course of hostilities.
And we have to remember what this is. This is a war of aggression. Ukraine has the right of self-defense. They are defending themselves. And the right of self-defense is enshrined in the UN Charter. We help Ukraine to uphold that right. That's our right, to help them protect UN law, international law, against the war of aggression. That doesn't make NATO and NATO allies party to the conflict, but we are supporting Ukraine to defend themselves against a war of aggression, a brutal invasion by President Putin.
Ukraine requires modern fighter jets to support its ground forces and to ensure the success of its defensive and offensive operations. The F-16s are also needed to ensure the functioning of the Black Sea Grain Initiative. They will allow Ukraine to secure the maritime route of the grain corridor and fully resume exports. F-16s will not only aid Ukraine's war effort, but will also serve as a deterrent to any future Russian attempts to redraw European borders. Arming Ukraine with F-16s will improve our continent's long-term stability. Moreover, air shield can be completed when ground-based air defense systems are supplemented with modern aircraft, specifically the F-16. Ukraine intercepts approximately 75% of Russian missiles and drones using current ground systems and Soviet-era fighting jets. F-16s will make Ukraine's air defense even more effective. According to a new tradition, today Russia again made an airstrike on Ukraine. According to the reports of the military forces of Ukraine, during the night the Russians launched 36 Iranian Shahed drones, and they were all shot down. As a result of fallen debris, a fire broke out in Chernivtsi region. But the night strike did not reach its goal. Again, although during May alone in Kyiv the Russians made 12 attacks by drones, Kinzhal and Caliber missiles. However, this time, as I already said, the attack was with the help of drones only, and from the 1st of May there was the longest pause, for days. For some reason, the rockets are not used, and there are more pauses. It seemed that the Russians are running out of missiles. But there is another theory. They are not used because Russian missiles are easily shot down by Western air defense systems. Remember that a month ago Kinzhal was considered an indestructible hypersonic missile, but it turned out to be a ballistic missile that skillful Ukrainian soldiers shot down quite easily. And not once, but 7 times. And of course, They are afraid to launch them now, so that our defenders of the sky will shoot it down once again to confirm its ineffectiveness in the Kremlin. And this relative calm in shelling refutes another thesis that was actually spread by Russian mass media. When they began their missile attacks in October last year, they said that it was revenge for the explosion on the Crimean bridge, and all other attacks were called retaliatory strikes. And what do we see? At the beginning of the week, Russian revolutionaries, which the Russian mass media call the Ukrainian group, entered the territory of the Belgorod region, and there are no revenge strikes. And this destroys all Russian propaganda, because it means that either the group is not Ukrainian, and therefore there is no point in hitting peaceful Ukrainian cities, or these were not revenge strikes but the usual Russian tactic to throw rockets at the points that can be reached. It is good that we did receive systems for Western partners, and we continue to feel the support of the Western world in the fight against the greatest evil of the 21st century.
I think what we're seeing now is Ukraine embodying why the United Nations Charter was created, why we have the institutions we do, such as the European Union, such as NATO, that we should never be alone when it comes to fighting violations of sovereignty and territorial integrity. So this is why it's so important. This is why we have to focus on it and get this right and stand shoulder to shoulder with the Ukrainian people to make sure we have a strong international system that respects territorial integrity and sovereignty.
Ukrainians have never chosen war. Our troops did not engage in annexation or resource plundering of other nations. But we will never obey any foreign colonizers. President Zelensky's peace formula, echoed in the relevant UN General Assembly resolutions, remains the only comprehensive framework for a just and sustainable peace in Ukraine. Because the war is taking place on Ukrainian soil, it is only natural that the Ukrainian peace formula should be at the center of any peace effort. Moscow and Minsk signed a document on the deployment of tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. At the same time, Russia does not transfer to the Republic control over it, and the decision to use it remains with Moscow, said Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu during the signing of documents. At the same time, the Russian Defense Minister noted that additional measures may be taken in the future to ensure the security of the Union state and respond to the military-political situation. Let me remind you that at the end of March this year, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced an agreement with the self-proclaimed president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, on the deployment of tactical nuclear weapons in the republic. According to the head of the Kremlin, the Iskander missile system, which can be a carrier of tactical nuclear weapons, has been handed over to Belarus. According to plans, the construction of a storage facility for tactical nuclear weapons should be completed on July the 1st. And in my opinion, this is another level for blackmail in the world. With nuclear weapons from the president of Russia, he really wants to sit down at the negotiation table. After all, Russia really needs a break, especially now when the aggressor has lost a huge number of people and equipment near Bakhmut. At least some kind of pause is simply necessary for Putin, and he will do anything to reach it. With this step, Putin binds Belarus to himself as much as possible, and he himself will violate and force Belarus to violate the treaty on the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons. Yes, we can say that the weapons will be Russian, but part of the Belarusian military will allegedly be trained to use them. You can imagine how much time is needed to learn to operate with such a complex weapon as nuclear. This is not some automatic machine gun. A few wrong actions and a nuclear mushroom grows in the middle of Belarus, Russia, or even Europe. Nuclear blackmail is not a new tactic for the Kremlin, despite all international agreements. The Russians are deploying troops near the Zaporizhia and PP. Moreover, as a result of shelling on Monday night, the plant was cut off from electricity for the 17th time since the beginning of the full-scale aggression. If you constantly play with matches, they will eventually catch fire. So you need to remove the possibility of any nuclear danger. That concludes our today's video. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for future videos. Goodbye.